Good afternoon. Welcome to the Arizona Legislature. It is a pleasure to see you all here today. It is my honor to help introduce Jeb Bush from Florida, Governor Jeb Bush from Florida here. He's talking on a subject that's near and dear to my heart, improving our education system, particularly improving our education system for low-income and minority children, all while getting more value for the taxpayer. Governor Bush achieved these reforms while maintaining Florida's academic competitiveness. The whole purpose of education, or one of the main purposes, is to prepare children to have a job. If you destroy your economy, you haven't really done much for education. Not only did he improve outcomes for these children academically, but he maintained a state that was one of the most competitive economically in the nation.
The four principles that I wanted to start with are that data matters, that any policy, whether it's education or anything else, in my opinion, you have to, it has to be driven by data, not by emotion, not necessarily by ideology. Principles matter a lot, but if you don't start with the premise that you're going to measure how things are and it's based on sound data, you're not going to get the desired result over the long haul.
50% of your school grade based on progress. We have about 1/3 of our, I felt like we should keep moving towards the progress piece and less emphasis on collecting test scores and more emphasis on creating a higher test score.
If you assume that we live in a static world where no amount of accountability or no policy change will change the result, that all children are kind of destined to either be great learners or mediocre learners or incapable of learning, which in my opinion, that is the subtle underlying principle of much of the education system in our country. Sad as I wish it's not the case, but that's what I believe. Then you would be a total fool to advocate a policy that would disrupt family life in schools to the extent that you would say, well, 29% of all kids are going to be held back. But the net result over time is that the numbers, as you see, of below basic readers, functionally illiterate readers, has dropped dramatically. Those are thousands of kids that now are not functionally illiterate and have a chance to be able to acquire knowledge going forward in 4th grade. And the number of kids that retain, thankfully, for the former governor who didn't have people marching to the Capitol to demand his ouster, declined as well. But it brought reality to the system, and I would urge consideration for something we didn't do, which is extend the social promotion, no social promotion policy to 8th grade. I mean, 3rd grade's important. It's an important milestone because of what happens in 4th grade. But there's no reason for us not to do this across the board. You shouldn't go to high school unless you're prepared to take on high school learning. And I think you would find in Arizona, if you did that, you would see declines in the number of students in 8th grade that were below basic readers and below basic math takers.
The Florida Center for Reading Research,
Yes.
I mean, as I read their stuff and I hear you talk, what they seem to have discovered there is even if you have the very best reading teacher doing the very best science in that classroom, unless you have those resources to go one-on-one with those struggling kids, the barrier appears to be about 70% on the literacy rate. But if you can galvanize those mentors to give one-on-one tutoring for those kids, that's the key to breaking through. And I look at your literacy rates in Florida for low-income and minority children, it is just striking. And so I'm sort of putting the pieces together here with how this all fits together.
We assess when kids enter kindergarten. It's a screen to determine their deficiencies and what they need, what the teachers need to focus on. But because of the fact that 3rd grade begins to matter for the school grades, and because 3rd grade social promotion is being determined whether a kid passes to 4th grade or not, the kindergarten 1st and 2nd grade teachers are part of that strategy, because ideally, you know, you're not waiting till the 2nd semester of the 3rd grade to begin to intervene in some new way to make sure that children are getting at grade level in 3rd grade. It's expensive to do it right. The interesting thing now is that we did this prior to No Child Left Behind, so everybody has to have this now, effectively. You have to have testing grade by grade rather than, you know, when we started it was 4, 8, and 10. Now we do grades 3 through 10. So that allowed us to have the learning gains. The assessment element and the database, it's a big struggle for our old legislature when I was there, because it's not money that goes directly to the classroom. And so there's a tendency to want to cut it, which is why I think it's important to defend, because it's the means by which policymakers can get accurate assessment of where we are.
Governor, thank you so much for being here with us today.
Thank you, Senator.
We very much appreciate it. I have pages of notes, and it's obvious to me that you have laid out a number of reforms that we can implement almost immediately, and another number of others which we can give deep thought to because they are very thought-provoking. It's been an exceptional presentation, and we very much appreciate it.
Thank you, Senator. Thank you.